told you that their rejection only hurts because it's a reflection of how much you reject yourself? And what if I told you you don't even want their approval? What you want is permission to stop abandoning yourself. But you don't need their permission, you just need your own. In today's video, we are going to be talking about not abandoning yourself just for the approval of others. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So I really want to focus on the idea of what self-acceptance actually looks like, because we hear that all the time. Love yourself more, accept yourself more, etc., etc. But just to kind of put it in layman's terms, what this would actually pan out in a practical sense is you not changing your desires because you feel like what you need or what you want makes other people uncomfortable. It would be you not changing who you are or the things that you like to do or don't like to do based on what others perceive to be cool or acceptable or whatever the case may be. Another form of self-acceptance can be you being honest, even if your truth offends others. Now with this, I'm not talking about walking around being offensive and hurting people's feelings just because you are disguising yourself behind being the blunt, honest person. I mean, standing in your truth, living in your truth, especially in defense of yourself. If someone's trying to manipulate you or gaslight you or project onto you who they think you should be, this is the time where you want to stand up for yourself and speak your truth, regardless of how it's going to be received. This could be hard to do, especially if you're dealing with dynamics where there's a hierarchy. You may have to do this with your parents or friendships, maybe even at work, where you find that you have to stand your ground and make sure that you are not being taken advantage of, exploited, or anything of that nature. Another form of self-acceptance is making sure that on your quest to get acknowledgement by others, that you give yourself acknowledgement first. If there's things that you're doing, whether it be as small as an aesthetic change, whether it be as big as going back to school and pursuing a degree, you have to be okay with what you're doing first before anybody. I used to always ask people their opinions before I made any big decision, and then even if I already knew what I wanted to do, my feelings around the outcome would change based on what other people's beliefs or opinions were about the situation. And so then sometimes I would second guess myself, or I wouldn't pursue something just simply based on the fact, well, too many people don't see the importance in what I'm doing, so what's the point? And that's something that I want you guys to stop and check out the door. Like, we're not trying to live our lives in reaction to what other people expect of us or what other people would want to do or would do if they were in our shoes. We want to really honor the parts of us that are daring to step out of the norm and daring to do things that maybe you've never seen anyone in your immediate circle do. These are times when you probably want to keep these things a secret, because even if someone's not coming from a negative place, sometimes other people's opinions on what you're doing or becoming can be skewed because they're looking at it through the lens of their lived experiences. They're looking at it through the lens of what they themselves probably would do or wouldn't do. And maybe sometimes their fears and their worries may come out and be projected onto you, even if it's not from a bad place. But only you know you, and you know what you're able to withstand. And sometimes you don't even know what you're able to withstand. So even in this, you want to make sure that you have that self-trust to know, regardless of what happens, I got me. And regardless of what happens, I'm going to give this a try. That's what self-acceptance looks like. Self-acceptance is, I like me, even if they don't. That is the attitude that you want to have when you are embracing yourself and providing the understanding, providing the validation, providing that love and appreciation for yourself that you are actually seeking from others. So another concept that I wanted to talk about when we are really unpacking the idea of seeking someone else's validation while actively abandoning yourself is why the rejection from others feels like death, why the rejection from others is so strong and so heavy and why most people try to avoid that feeling at all cost. And I would invite you to consider that the reason why the rejection itself feels so bad is not actually due to heartbreak, but it's due to exposure. And what I mean by that is when someone revokes their presence from your life, that absence creates a void. And with that void, you have free time. And with that free time, you have time to self-reflect. And what you will find in that self-reflection, if you actually take that step, which I do advise you to do, a lot of people will get rid of that distraction either by choice or by force. But once they get rid of that distraction, they'll just go ahead and pick up another distraction. This is how some people form addictions, because it's like you're constantly trying to avoid feeling bad. And anytime something makes you feel bad, you have to run to another distraction. So the distractions, whether it's shopping or doing substances, drinking, partying, having reckless behaviors with other people, intimate behaviors with other people. That's where some of this, once you have that void and you feel that emptiness, where some of these types of behaviors kind of slip through the cracks. But we don't want to do that. We want to take our time, we want to take a step back, and we want to feel those feelings and try to understand, like, okay, what is this that I'm feeling? The sad part that you would find is that sometimes when you feel rejected by someone, the reason why you're sad, again, is not because of heartbreak, but because you understand that, why do I only feel worthy when I'm in the presence of someone else? Why is it that I don't feel worthy simply for existing? Now, most of the time, this happens because of your upbringing. This can happen because as a result of being in situations like this in your upbringing, you have inadvertently put yourself in situations where you're recreating this dynamic in your adult life, where you're constantly around people that are making you beg for attention and making you prove your worth instead of just accepting you for who you are or just existing. Also, during this time, in that absence, you start having to sit with the idea of, wow, okay, I only feel worthy with this person, but why don't I feel good enough for simply liking myself? Why don't I feel like I can simply exist? Why don't I feel like my presence in someone else's life is enough? That all that needs to be there, I don't need to perform, I don't need to provide them with anything tangible or anything of that nature. I just simply need to be around them and just show up with my true authentic self and be accepted. What you may find in doing so is that, wait, do I even like myself? There's probably parts of you that are negative that you feel like you should be working on changing. So I implore you to consider actually working on changing those things, especially if you would benefit from changing. If you know that you're a toxic person or something like that, maybe try to figure out, how can I be less abrasive when I'm around others? But if it's, this is not a time to beat yourself up either. This is you taking inventory of the things about yourself that you do like, the things about yourself that you don't like. And when I say work on those things and change them for you, not because you're trying to win someone over or you're trying to acquire something, but because it's going to be for the greater good of your mental health. It's going to be for the greater good of your existence. So we talked about why rejection feels so heavy and so dark. Let's talk about, in a practical sense, how you can start accepting yourself sooner than later. This can start with smaller gestures, such as, let's say someone tells a joke at your expense, and in the past, you know it makes you feel bad. You see everyone around you laughing. Don't laugh at that. Don't betray yourself by minimizing yourself and accepting disrespect. If you know that someone is playing with you in your face, you can, if you're not the most confrontational person in the world, that's okay. But revoke your access, revoke your energy. You don't have to be in environments with people where they're trying to diminish you. Because every time you accept that, that's you positively reinforcing to yourself that you don't matter. And sometimes you don't need to make a speech. You need to make a statement and that statement is made with action, but that statement is not for the other people. It could be, but it's more so for you, that no, I'm not gonna sit here and tolerate disrespect. And the more you start doing that, the more you start getting that self-trust, that self-love, and start really understanding that my existence is enough. And if me being in places with people and they don't value me, I'm just not gonna be there. Don't agree for the sake of agreeing. If you don't agree with something, voice your opinion. Also, don't post things for the sake of validation and praise if it's something that you yourself don't believe in. Stop doing things for other people and start living your truth. It's like a skill. You have to keep working at it. You got to keep practicing times where you would normally betray yourself and actually let your authentic self take the lead in those situations. Another good way to start with your self-acceptance, start saying no as a complete sentence. I used to be the type of person who someone would want me to do something, I wouldn't want to do it. So I would come up with all these excuses. Now I just say, oh no, I don't think I want to do that. Boom, that's it. And people aren't used to your boundary being so strong, so firm, so just solid, that when I do that, sometimes people will laugh because they're uncomfortable. They're like, oh, really? Like, it's like that? Yeah, I don't want to do it. Well, why not? Because I don't. What do you mean? Like, if it's something I wanted to do, I would do it. If it's something I don't want to do, I don't want to do. Like, there's nothing you could say that's going to persuade me to do it. Now, this is not to say you can't do people favors or stuff like that. I'm saying for the most part, practice turning down things that you just simply do not want to do, or if you doing it is going to actually make you uncomfortable or put you in a situation where now you feel like you're walking on eggshells or something like that. You don't have to put yourself in these positions, so don't do it. Another thing that is very underrated but very important is letting your needs be heard. When you're used to people pleasing, or you're used to doing things and putting everybody else above yourself, you tend to hide or downplay what your needs are. And letting your needs be known, even if no one else understands. If you're having a conversation and you feel like you need to take a minute, take a minute. Let them know, excuse me, I think I need to take a minute. You don't have to over explain, because some people may not understand anyways. There are some people, once you start enforcing your boundaries, that will become very uncomfortable because they themselves don't even feel comfortable enforcing boundaries. That is not your burden to bear. So you don't want to start internalizing where other people's traumas and triggers are. That has nothing to do with you. They have to embark on their own journey of self-healing and self-acceptance. So again, I just really want to stress that stop seeking validation from others and give yourself that validation, because, and I'm speaking from experience, once you start accepting yourself, understanding yourself, loving yourself, setting your boundaries, being your authentic self in every situation, every scenario, you'll realize that, wow, no one else's validation matters to me more than my own. No one else's validation was ever gonna make me feel better than me giving that to myself. Because if you start loving yourself and accepting yourself, when other people do it, it's just a bonus. It's not the thing that's gonna make or break you. And again, you can start small, because this is a lot easier said than done, but it's necessary. So thank you for watching this video, and if you enjoy it, please like, comment, share, subscribe, and until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye.